All right, let's continue going around the world of college basketball. Today we're looking at NC State. As you guys know, you clicked on this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. And we're going to be doing a little preview before we get back in the fall and we give our full predictions and projected rotation for this NC State basketball team. So before we get into the current roster, we got to go back and look at what happened last season with this NC State team. Like a couple of teams we've gone through, we got to go back one more year because they had an awesome, magical Final Four run led by a pair of DJs, DJ Burns, DJ Horn, that really saved Coach Keats' job because before that happened, there were rumors. It wasn't looking good for Coach Keats. The season, honestly, before the Final Four run, before the ACC tournament run, was not in good shape for NC State. They go on this magical run. They make the Final Four. Coach Keats comes back. They lose a lot of the guys from that team. Not only the DJs, but also Mohamed Diawara, Casey Morcell. There's a lot of losses from that team. So they had to bring in a lot of transfers to replace that production. And unfortunately, the team just never meshed. Now, there was some bad luck. They lost 6 games by 3 points or less, but they still finished 12-19. So, even if you flipped half of those games, there's still a 500 team or slightly below 500 team. So it just never worked out last year for Coach Keats. I thought guys like Brandon Huntley Hatfield could give them something. He really, it really wasn't as good as you would have thought. Dontrez Styles had some moments. Marcus Hill was okay. Jaden Taylor had some moments. Ben Middlebrooks was probably asked to do too much. Same with Michael O'Connell. They're two of the premier guys they brought back from the team before. So, and then the freshmen, they had moments from guys like Trey Parker, Paul McNeil, but they never really got consistent playing time. So it was just a all-around mixed bag. Not to mention they had a guy in Mike James who was brought over as a transfer who never ended up playing for them. He had an injury and it just never, I forget the exact details, but he never ended up playing. So long story short, just a really rough season last year, finishing 12-19. We turn the page. We've got a new coach, Coach Will Wade, coming in from McNeese State there. And he's brought in a couple of players from McNeese State. It just is, it's got a whole new feel for NC State, along with a number of programs, I should say, in the ACC. But let's go through this roster for NC State. All right, so we're going to go through this roster in class order, meaning we're going to start with the freshmen. And there's a lot of newcomers on this NC State team. Coach Will Wade has, he's turned the page, and there's a lot of new players, and I won't even continue this. There's only one one scholarship player who has returned for this NC State program. We'll get to him in just a moment. But 3 freshmen to start off: Matt Abel, Jaime Kontuniemi, and Zamika Wilkins. So we'll start with Abel, top 30 recruit, 6'5" shooting guard. Expect him to start. Zamika Wilkins, 6'8", 240-pound forward. Maybe he's a center. Top 100 recruit. Will be in the mix at both the power forward, and center spots for this NC State team. I wouldn't be surprised, with the limited information I have, to see him slide in as their backup center. But we'll have to see how these pieces fit in as time goes on here. And the man from Finland, Jaime, 6'4", 205 pounds. I think he's a wing as well as Abel, but probably in the outskirts of the rotation for this NC State team. Moving along here, the aforementioned Paul McNeil, the lone returning scholarship player from last year's team, had some flashes, but I expect him to be, kind of in the fringes of this rotation for NC State. Colt Langdon was a redshirt freshman last year for Butler, so he comes in with 4 years of eligibility remaining. He's got some good size at 6'7", and he's from the Raleigh area. And Jerry Dang, this is his 3rd team in 3 years, having started at Hampton before going to Florida State last season. He's got good size at 6'9", and he can shoot the three. So I think he's going to be a prominent rotation member, but maybe not a starter. Next up, 3 more players here and 3 more transfers. So Terrence Arsenault is a guy who I do think is going to start for this team. 6'6" wing transfer from Houston. I think he's got more to his offensive game than he was able to show at Houston. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Kadir Copeland, one of a couple of players coming over from McNeese State with Coach Will Wade. 6'6" point guard, not much of a shooter. I am curious how, he's returning to the ACC. So he's familiar with this competition, having been at Syracuse for 2 years prior to going to McNeese State. And Scotty Abube, transfer 6'10", big man, coming over from Wyoming. It's been a couple of years at Southern Illinois. He's in the mix with Zamika Wilkins in that backup center role, in my opinion. A couple more players here. Trey Holloman and Van Allen Lubin. Trey Holloman, he's in the mix with Kadir Copeland to be that point guard. Neither one of these guys can shoot, which is kind of funny to me, but they can both run the offense. And then Van Allen Lubin, one of the biggest surprise transfers of the summer as far as I'm concerned, moving from North Carolina to NC State. He will start at center. I just don't see any way where Van Allen Lubin is not starting after the move that he made this summer. Last couple of transfers, and arguably, not even arguably, the biggest transfer for this NC State team was getting Darian Williams. He's their best player. He's just their best player. He had an awesome season last year at Texas Tech. 15 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.3 steals. He's an undersized 4 height-wise, but physicality he makes up for it because he's 6 foot. He's listed at 225. I swear he's 240. He just moves people around. And he's going to be their leading scorer and best player is what I think with his last year of eligibility. He just gives them a real level of credibility that I think this roster was lacking until he committed. And then Allen Breed is interesting. 6'3" guard coming over also from McNeese State. He only played 2 games last year. It's his 6th season of college basketball. I'm very curious how he fits in because the 2 games he played for McNeese, he averaged 17 points, but it's hard to really take a ton from that because it was only 2 games. And his 3 years prior at Providence, he was more of a 4 to 5 point per game player. So a lot of question marks on this roster, but there's certainly some depth as well for NC State. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace.